The INREDIS project is a big research project that was awarded a grant from the Senate that, as you know, are national strategic consortiums for technical research and basic research. It was approved in July of 2007, and it aimed to develop technologies that would allow to have communication channels, channels of interaction between people with special needs and its environment. It has an important budget, 23.6 million euros, and this consortium ended in March this year, and so we have finished the whole project, the whole research stage. We have done this with a business consortium made up of 13 companies and 19 centers of technology and research. The consortium was a consortium that from my viewpoint, it was very different to others because somehow it had the participation of many visions, or many perspectives, we could say, of reality. So we had companies that were focused on digital homes, on telecare, on the support products, banking products, the person-machine interaction, also artificial intelligence, environmental intelligence, mobile information, digital content, etc. And there was a cross-sectional idea behind it that was that everything designed had to take into account accessibility and research on accessibility. And we've done this with, we've worked with many universities. Many of them are present here today. Each university made its contribution, universities, research centers, authorities, etc. The paradigm that we had, and some of you already know this cartoon, but I think it's very informative. We had a traditional approach in which there was an environment that was totally inaccessible, a technological environment that was not just computers but ATM machines, washing machines, traffic lights, etc. And all the solutions that were given were accessibilities for each of these technologies. So a washing machine that spoke, an ATM machine, a cash point that used contrast or that was in braille, that was lower, the information panels that until then had been inaccessible. But each of these solutions, which in itself managed to bridge a very important gap in a non-accessible environment that managed to make it accessible, had certain difficulties. Start with difficulties for the users. Users had to be able, for instance, in a banking environment, to know what keys they had to push in the keypad in every single cash machine or ATM machine to make it talk. Or for instance, in an information panel, in an information monitor on a train station, they had to have a monitor reader, etc. And also there were the difficulties to identify where what to touch in order to make it accessible. For instance, if a blind person went to a train station and found an accessible, and there may have been a monitor that was accessible, a display that was accessible, but if he didn't know that it was there, then obviously it was not as accessible as it needed to. Or for instance, if you carried a rucksack with many components, many devices, mobile devices, traffic light, actuators, etc. So really there were many devices that had to be used. And for the industry, this also meant that there was great efforts to make. And given that there were no large-scale projects, this had a very important financial impact in order to integrate in each of these devices accessibility standards. And so we looked at a new approach based on interoperability. And so if we manage for the devices of users to be able to communicate with the environment, then we would be able to promote accessibility, because normally the normal technological device that the people with disability carry already have the support products, and that was our approach. And so in the end, the research that we carried out made us deepen our knowledge in some concepts that we imagined existed but were key for our research. Of course, this interoperability platform was necessary, but a platform that brought together some intelligence based on concepts such as multimodality, being able to access it in different ways. Also ubiquity, that is, that this way of interacting can be used anywhere, not just in specific places. Another very important component, which was adaptability, that is how I can get this technology to adapt to people. Well, we've done this through the concept of the profile of capability. So we looked at the abilities of the skills that everyone had in order to make sure that we can create the right interface, and of course a very important security element. So really there's been a total change. We've gone from just modifying a product to creating an objective service, and all these concepts have been adopted, also taking into consideration the fact that there are many layers. So we have the layer of content accessibility. Not only the device has to be accessible, but also the content. And so we have developed knowledge regarding easy reading that also benefits people with cognitive disabilities, but also a huge group of people that do not master the language, or people that have a not very high cultural level. Also the augmented and alternative communication, also that gives a lot of information for multi-language, virtual multimedia assistance, and also everything to do with structure, styles, etc., the layout. And of course all of this is combined with certain ubiquitous support services and products. We're talking about screen readers, voice recognition, natural language processing, image recognition, multi-language converter, Google T, LSC synthesizers, etc. Everything that allows interfaces to adapt to people. And as we said before, we wanted to find a large-scale solution. And what does this mean? Well, it means that we have to, that whatever we develop has to work in many environments. And after developing this platform, we have, after developing certain experimental platforms, we have demonstrated that this can be used in different environments, and therefore that it has that can be used, for instance, at home, with it in the digital home, with domotic control, telecare, everything that has to do with mobility at home, everything that has to do also with the urban environment platforms, such as access to information points or leisure recommendation services. Also in the work environment, with hardware control in the office and digital services at work, and the platform of the banking sector, such as, for instance, in ATM machines or cash points.